Hello guys, I hope you are all doing well. Today, for once, I felt like talking a bit about myself, so I thought of making a quick video to share my top 10 favorite RPGs of all time. I won't go too deep into the details, but rather give a quick overview of each game. Vampire: The Masquerade Redemption. Released in 2000 on PC. This game seems a bit underrated, which is a shame because it's really amazing. The game starts in Prague in 1141, where you play as a crusader named Christoph. After the first mission, he is unwillingly turned into a vampire, setting the stage for a dark and captivating adventure. Throughout the game, the player recruits several other vampires during their journey to help them in their quest. Each one has their own unique magic spells and other useful powers. The main quest is a bit too long to explain in detail, but let's just say there's a war between several vampire clans, with humans caught in the middle. Christoph is trying to sort out all this chaos. One particularly cool feature of the game is that it takes place in two different eras, in 1141, in Prague and Vienna, and later in 1999, in London. I remember that back then, it was an incredible surprise to go from a Gothic European setting with swords and armor to suddenly having to wear jeans pants and fire a gun in the streets of London. Might and Magic 6: The Mandate of Heaven. Released in 1998 on PC. This game is incredibly long and super fun. Even with a walkthrough, it takes over 100 hours to complete. Without one, I honestly don't know if it's even possible. The map is huge with countless regions and dungeons to explore. The game isn't linear and almost all the quests can be completed in any order, so the player has complete freedom to do whatever they want, whenever they want. Character progression is intuitive, and the game is relatively easy to pick up. However, don't expect the game to hold your hand. You'll often have to figure out where to go on your own. The world is also filled with countless secrets, some of which are nearly impossible to find. Like here, in this dungeon, you have to touch this specific part of the wall to increase a character's fire resistance. There's no way you could know that in advance. I spent my entire playthrough just tapping every wall I came across. Chrono Cross. Released in 1999 on PlayStation. Another beautiful game with stunning, vibrant graphics. First of all, it's important to mention that this game takes place in the same universe as Chrono Trigger, the legendary RPG from the Super Nintendo. You play as Serge, a young guy who has to save the world, or some other typical heroic mission. To help him on his quest, the player can recruit 44 other playable characters. I absolutely love the concept of massive recruitment in RPGs. The combat system is quite unique. Every attack or magic spell has a specific color, and during battles you should try to use as many attacks of the same color as possible to boost their overall damage. But the game has another standout feature: the ability to freely travel between two parallel worlds. For example, if a path is blocked in one world, it might be open in the parallel world, allowing the player to progress. The game is simply incredible. Final Fantasy VII. Released in 1997 on PlayStation. Seriously, do I really need to give you any details about this game that's famous across the entire solar system? I don't think it's necessary. Just one thing. I never managed to beat the ruby weapon, but at least I managed to breed a golden chocobo. So there's that. Dragon Ball Z Super Saiya Densetsu. Released in 1992 on the Super Famicom. This game is really only for hardcore Dragon Ball Z fans because, to be honest, it's not exactly great. The game starts with the arrival of Raditz and ends with the death of Frieza. You'll have to endure countless, seemingly endless battles against the same enemies over and over, and yet I've finished it 6 or 7 times. What makes this game special is that it really feels like you're living through the adventure of your favorite series. Even today, I still get that same feeling when I play this classic RPG. And there's something deeply satisfying about grinding experience like crazy, just so you can eventually fight Frieza with Yamcha at almost equal power. Pteranigma, released in 1995 on the Super Nintendo. Alright guys, now we're getting into some seriously epic territory. Everything about this game is perfect. The music, the visuals, the story, and yes, that's rare for me to say, but with Pteranigma, I actually followed the story. In this game, the player has to reshape the world. To do this, you not only have to clear dungeons, but also take part in the evolution of different towns and civilizations. If the player makes the right choices, the villages and the entire world will grow and develop. For example, if you help certain NPCs in the City of Freedom, William will eventually invent an airplane. And of course, the invention of aviation completely changes the world. I absolutely love this unique game mechanic. The game also has a deep connection to nature, which really resonated with me. Fallout 2, released in 1998 on PC. This game is an absolute giant, packed with countless quests, a dozen recruitable characters, tons of weapons, armor, and all kinds of items, and, most importantly, a non-linear story set in a massive open world. The game also features stunning isometric graphics perfect for its time, with an incredible soundtrack and atmospheric sound design. It's also quite gory, which adds to its post-apocalyptic charm. Fallout 1 was a game changer when it was released, and it's almost as good as Fallout 2, but I personally prefer the second installment. Back in the day, I first discovered Fallout 1 through a demo CD that came with a magazine, and I was instantly hooked. But back to Fallout 2, this game is simply perfect. If you haven't played it yet, do it now. But also try Fallout 1 if you can, and maybe even Fallout Tactics, which came out in 2001. But whatever you do, stay away from Fallout, Brotherhood of Steel, released in 2004. Secret of Evermore, released in 1995 on the Super Nintendo. We're entering my top 3 with this monumental gem. In this RPG, the player takes on the role of a character from our world, which is a nice change from the usual heroes from purely fantasy realms. Of course, I absolutely love the idea of having your loyal, four-legged best friend as your partner throughout the entire game. In fact, the dog changes form in each different part of the Evermore world, which I think is a fantastic idea. The magic system, or rather alchemy, still appeals to me a lot even today. Basically, to cast spells, you need to gather all sorts of ingredients like water, roots, and various other items scattered all over the game, whether on the ground or hidden in chests. The only downside is that the game is a bit too easy for my taste. Right at the beginning, if you level up certain alchemy spells, no boss will last more than 10 seconds against you. Secret of Mana, released in 1993 on the Super Nintendo. Alright friends, we're really getting close to the sun with this one. This game is also perfect. From my point of view, it has absolutely no flaws. I honestly don't know what else to say because everything about it is perfect, and it brought me an incredible amount of joy during my childhood. A little tip for those of you who might be trying this game for the first time. In the final section of the game, the Mana Fortress, take the time to slay the enemies a few times. Some of them might drop unique armors or weapon orbs. And my all-time favorite RPG, probably for eternity, Suikoden II, released in 1998 on PlayStation. I remember that in my early teenage years, I used to ride my bike to Toys R Us. I almost never bought games because I never had enough money, but I loved looking at the game boxes and imagining what the gameplay might be like. And there was one box that always caught my attention more than the others, a game simply called Suikoden. One day, I finally managed to buy it, and oh my god, it was an incredible experience. Unfortunately, I didn't speak English at the time, and the game was entirely in English. As a result, during the dialogue choices, I would just pick random responses, which made me miss out on recruiting some characters. Then, a few years later, when I finally spoke English, a friend lent me a game that, for me, is the ultimate game. Suikoden II. It's exactly like the first Suikoden, just better in every way. The story of Suikoden II is connected to the first game. You even meet some of the characters you played with in the original Suikoden, which was amazing. For its time, the game was also very impressive graphically. Everything about it is wonderful. But what I loved the most, and probably what most Suikoden fans love the most, is the 108 recruitable characters you can find throughout the game. Most of them can be used in battles, while others are only there to help improve your headquarters. Let me explain. There are 7 Suikoden games, and one of the unique features of the series is that in each installment, the player eventually gets a headquarters, usually an old, ruined castle or something similar. And to upgrade your headquarters, you need to recruit characters who will build shops or other useful rooms. For example, a kitchen can unlock the super cool cooking contest minigame, while other rooms can unlock different minigames where you can win unique items. Recruitable characters always have a portrait of their face when they speak. So if you walk into a new village and talk to an NPC with a visible portrait, you know right away that there's a way to recruit them, either now or later in the game. However, some characters are quite challenging to recruit. And as I mentioned earlier, every Suikoden game has 108 recruitable characters. I just love it. The game has an impressive amount of content if you decide to complete all the side quests and minigames. Alright, I think I've said enough for today. Whoever you are, thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing. Thanks, and see you very soon.